Yeah.
All right, and I think the first thing up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's see if I can get it up. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Absolutely. All right, do we have any guests or new members? What's that?
It is on, it's just not.
It's not cranking it out very well, or am I not speaking up enough? That's probably what it is. I'll try to speak up a little bit better. Any new members, guests? Oh, new members? Oh, fantastic. Welcome. All right, first out of the box, our summer hours. We've our volunteers are either cruising somewhere in Alaska or gone north for a while. So we're really kind of strapped right now for office help. So actually, my message here is twofold. If you have some time and you'd like to volunteer in the office, we can certainly use the help. We're right now, we're dropping our hours to 3 days a week that we can support. We're going to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, still from 10 to 2, but Mondays and Fridays, there won't be anybody in the office. We're just planning on June, July, and August for this. Our monthly meeting is still going to be the first Monday of the month. We'll keep that date. So hopefully when we get back, we get some snowbirds that come back and that sort of thing, get things back to normal. But this time of year with vacations and stuff, it makes it awful tough to keep the office well staffed. But like I said, if you have some time and want to volunteer, you can either give us a call at the office, email us, just go on the website, or you can call me and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about what opportunities we have to work in the office. Oh, guess what? You know how long this organization has been around? 40 years. This is our 40th year, and we're going to have an anniversary celebration. The date's October 7th is what we're planning right now. This is going to be a catered event. So if you're hopefully in the afternoon, you'll come in hungry and leave full. It is going to be, we're going to put out an email to RSVP. So we get an idea of how many people are going to be here for it, but kind of looking forward to it. I think it'll be a fun time. And I won't bore you with any presentations that night. We'll just do food. Okay, our monthly favorite, unfortunately, George Kopechnik, who usually handles this aspect, has got the flu. So he couldn't make it tonight. We were just looking forward. We had George back here last time, and he's planning on coming in, but then he came down with the flu last week, so he's feeling under the weather. So this is going to be a real brief monthly favorite because I'm not really versed in what he was talking about. Well, and I think he started out as talking about what the weather forecast for Port Charlotte over the next couple of months might be. As you can imagine, June, we're having a heat wave. It's been really kind of warm lately, isn't it? In July, guess what? It's going to be hotter yet. And in August is oh my God, it's going to be really hot. Well, the idea was, okay, so it's a little too hot to go outside and do exercise and fitness. So he found a website that's called dareby.com that you can actually go to this website, and it has exercise programs that you can do inside. So it's called dareby.com. We'll put this up as a monthly favorite up on our website there. So if you want to go to our website, it'll be a link there that you can go there. And I think it just has exercise programs that, like I said, you can do indoors. You know, that's not my forte, but somebody else might be into it.
There's about 1,000 different
Okay,
exercises.
the
for it.
next, our featured speaker tonight is, Alan Taylor. He's joined us a little while ago, but, as far as, operating systems Linux goes, he knows more than I do and most other people I know of Linux. He's kind of got us started in that direction a little bit. Several of us in the office are looking at it and, trying to figure out how we can support it in the long run. And I think it might be something we definitely want to pick up and want to be able to support. It's just, we got to get all on the same page, and Alan will kind of explain what the things about Linux are and why this might take us a little while to figure out exactly, because we want to recommend something that we can support in the long run. All right, Alan. Well,
I got a question.
Shoot.
There's a thing up here on the monitor. Can we
oh,
clear that off?
to see if I can. Not seeing it here.
Yeah. Stop share, you are screen sharing.
Oh, uh-oh.
And also not hearing anything, turn volume up.
Oh, it's really.
Well, let's do this. No big deal.
Yeah, I don't think I can get rid of it.
Okay, well, that's okay. We'll go on. Oh, now something's in the middle there. You did something there.
I did something else, huh?
Leave meeting. Oh, you're. Yeah, we should be using Linux. Yeah, you're doing something with,
Uh-oh.
your
Uh,
broadcast, or do you want to broadcast this? I can switch it over and just do it.
see if I can-
Oh, somebody's on there though.
yeah. See if I can-
Yeah, it's right in the middle of the screen.
It's
there.
still there.
Yeah.
This is a new feature from Zoom, of course.
Yeah, because it's putting stuff up in the middle of the screen. Yeah, it's definitely Zoom, because it's like you're sharing and all. Says if you want to hear, turn up the volume, and it's got
Oh, is that right?
anything that shows you can clear messages or something.
There it is.
Oh, well, just go ahead. It's okay.
Let me bring
It's kind of in the,
Let me bring it back up again and see.
yeah, if we didn't have anybody watching, I'd just say switch over to my computer, but
Let me give it a shot here, see if we can bring it back in. We're gonna have to deal with that one. Can't get rid of it. This is gonna be bad.
he said he likes Windows, so he's trying to sabotage the presentation.
Ah,
I'm telling you what, I think this speaker's kind of irritating. Can you hear me if I'm just speaking?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do that because better than the speaker system. Once he gets us going.
Yep, give me a minute. You know, the Control-Alt-Delete.
We're rebooting here?
Yeah, I'll do a restart.
Or we could switch over to Linux.
Ah,
Okay, you're on, and there's nothing there, so that might work.
all right,
If you can pull it up now, let's see if it'll.
okay, let me get Zoom back up here first. Oh, this is bad.
Yeah, sure. So, oh, this is all one big presentation.
Yeah.
No, that's on. Well, no, yeah, it is. Okay, go on down. You can do that. You're good. Just zip on down to.
Oh,
whatever you did, just- No, we should just hit down there, slide. Hit, see if we can just hit a slide there. Yeah, that did it. Okay, now let's move on. Yeah. There we go. That looks good. Let's get down to. So I'll just say next.
Let me see if I can get it back on Zoom there so everybody else out there can see it. Give me just a minute.
You. There you go. That's what we're all up there. So now when you get to the presentation, there you go. Yeah, okay, there you go. I think it's got most sewed off there. Okay, so. That's the first slide.
Move to the next one or?
Now go ahead and go to the second one. I just want to see if it's. Okay, that's good.
Okay.
So we've already talked about in the intro, a little bit about Linux. But what we're going to try to do is talk today about an alternative to Windows, because as we discussed, Windows is getting more aggressive on their data gathering. Some of these benefits, like the recording feature, to me, that's scary. They're recording everything you type every time you're on your computer, and they're storing it, and I will disagree a little bit, they're storing it in the cloud as well as on your computer. Windows is, matter of fact, they're working on storage systems that we don't even have yet, so they can store more and more data. I was just reading in The Economist the other day, so it's interesting, but the fact is, Windows wants to store all your data, just like Google, like all these companies. They take that data, sell it to people, develop trends, etc. So this becomes a little more critical, and we touched on the 10, 11, and all these things, because as Mark mentioned, October 14, 2025 will be the end of Windows 10 support. Who knows? Microsoft may change that. But at this point, they're closing down. If you go to their site, they tell you the best recommendation if your computer won't run 10, as we talked about, buy a new computer, because they're now selling new computers. So when that ends, basically, again, we've kind of touched on a lot of this, but the fact is, you're not going to be able to run 10 protected. You can keep running it, but as it gets older and older, there's more and more chances of somebody being able to break into your computer. And that's really what it boils down to. They'll sell you this extended security option, $427 for 3 years. You know, that's if you're clinging to Windows 10. You say, I love it and I don't want to change. So I'll stick with it for, you know, as long as I possibly can. Most, as we mentioned earlier, most PCs that are out there now that are more than a few years old are not going to run 11. And that's their whole point. Buy a new computer, we'll load 11 on it when you buy it, and you're good to go. Now we can collect all the data and do all the things that Mark's talking about with AI and data collection, etc. Now, Linux is a totally different operating system, secure, Basically secure, user-friendly, and totally free. It will run on basically virtually any PC or computer out there. I'm even running it. I've got an old Apple that I'm running, an old Mac, two old Apple laptops, a very old Dell. I've just loaded it on things to see if there's a limit. And because it is much lighter weight and there's not a lot of this spyware and bloatware, it'll run on virtually anything. Next. The little bit of background, not to go too deep, but this was developed back in 1991 by a student in Finland. He bought an old IBM computer 386, which is dead by today's standards. He wanted to do some things and he couldn't do, so he basically decided, hey, I'm going to write my own language. I'm going to adopt Unix, and I'll make it run on a 386 chip. And Unix, as I say there, was written in 1971, so it's been around a long time. It's basically sort of the old mainframe language, very stable, very secure, and like I say, been around forever. And it was sold even before Windows. As if you were in the computer world, you might have heard of Xenix, and they were marketing under different names, but it was basically Unix with the tech support included. Basically, once he finalized the design, he decided, Linus Torvalds decided, hey, I'm gonna give it away for free forever. And he wanted to set that up, so they actually organized the hierarchy where if you could use it, you could see the code, but you had to, if you made a modification to it, you had to allow somebody else to see the code. Unlike, as we were talking about Windows, where once it expires, the third parties can't do much because Windows isn't going to show you their code and tell you exactly what they're doing inside the box. As of right now, basically, since everybody can see it, you can customize it, you can update it, but you have to submit it. There's a general hub. And this guy, Linus Torvalds, is still involved in it, but basically they upgrade it, they send out the updates, and everybody sees even the new changes. Right now, and we'll talk about what a distro is, but there's 600 different packages of Linux that you can load on your computer right now. And there's about 500 that are in the developmental stage, which I wouldn't recommend loading on your computer because you got guys that are sitting in garages. Because it is open code, you know, you can basically put a package together and stick it on the internet, let people load it on their computers. Basically, the global community is now up around 40 million. But the bigger part, the Android operating system, which most people don't realize, is Linux. That is 85% of all the smartphones on the planet are running Linux or Android. Also, you know, the Chromebooks, which are like the low-end computers that Google sells, most of them have virtually no hard drive. They might have 40 gig of solid state memory, and they're just for like students who are going to log on to the web. A lot of schools give them out to students to use while they're in their classes, etc. So there's a pretty big market already using Linux, and again, it's been around about 93 is when it actually hit the market. So it's very mature and it's very established. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, a few of the major, and I'm not trying to sell it as he mentioned, but a few of the major users, 96.3% of the top 1 million web servers for the internet are running Linux. United States Department of Defense, the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, the Navy, Nuclear Security Administration, almost all cloud servers are running Linux in the background, even though they may allow you to set up a Windows virtual machine on their box. Amazon, Dell, Facebook, etc., and NASA, they were running Linux on their Martian rover. Because it's a simple system that doesn't break down, requires very little hardware to run. So it's perfect for someone remote that you're not gonna be able to deal with. I will mention one thing, Linux is free. There is a way they charge. Red Hat, and you see they're selling to the government. The government doesn't want to put something on their computers where there's no support. So Red Hat takes Linux, puts it in a package, and then they also sell the technical support along with it to the government primarily. They're probably one of the original packagers. They've been around for probably 20 years now, and they're very entrenched in the government operations. Go ahead. They're running on all the fastest supercomputers in the world now. That's the top 500. There was a couple that were not running it. They just completed that. So they're running on all the supercomputers. Okay. Now, here's where we get into it. Linux will run on virtually anything. I'm not going to belabor it, but working in the office, I see a lot of old computers coming. And, you know, they're slow. They've been, oh, I've had this computer for 10 years. That's okay. You don't necessarily have to throw it away. If it's Windows or if it's Apple, the reason I put Linux on the Apple computers is because Apple says you can't load our system on this. This is too old. I said, okay, I'll load Linux on it. And that it runs great. But if it was up to Apple, they'd say, oh, throw that thing away. It's a 2007 computer. So it'll run on virtually anything. Obviously, computers, you know, as they get older and slower, and we deal with them again in the office. If you've got a computer that's got 1 gig or 2 gig of RAM and an old hard drive that's spinning, it's going to be a slow computer. You know, there's a lot of things you can do to speed it up. Not even counting the software that's cheap and easy. With Linux, you're in control of your system. The updates, configuration, everything are under your control versus Microsoft, which they do an update. And as Mark kind of mentioned, sometimes you've got your system perfect. And all of a sudden here comes the Microsoft update and you go, what the heck? This is now got me running Edge as a browser and it's got me on the cloud and it's got, I mean, again, doing the support in the office, I'm meeting with people and they're like, I said, you know, all your documents are not on your computer. They're on the Windows cloud. And it's like, I didn't know that. Well, they don't necessarily jump right out and tell you that, but when you're signing up and they're saying, let us do our magic and configure the system, a lot of that stuff might not be what you would necessarily choose. But they try to change things when you're not looking so that they can gather your data, basically. Linux is free from all the spyware, the data gathering software, and of course, which we've talked about with Windows, gathering your data for commercial uses. And I think 11 is really going to kick it up to a whole nother level. I mean, they're literally saying, hey, they're telling you right up, everything on this screen, I'm recording. That's scary. And you know, it's not related to this topic, but I've had relatives who were ripped off for a lot of money by scammers. And I'll tell you what, I don't want my data sitting up there where the less it can see it, the better. And that's a real threat out there. And I don't know, you know, most people to me probably get on the computer and look at their email and get on their social medias and Facebooks and things like that. You know, they're not doing super sophisticated stuff. So when you talk about AI and all these things, it's like, do you really need a computer that does a zillion transactions a second? You know, you just want your computer to be safe and dependable. So yeah, another benefit, this used to be kind of a geeky language. It was like, oh, you must use Linux, man, you must be an engineer or something, which I can, but you know, in order to make it more user friendly, and this is what Windows did. I mean, Windows is a distribution. Okay, started with a kernel way back when the DOS operating system had an interface. We'll talk a little bit more about this. Put a package together and they called it Windows and they started selling. Torvald did the same thing, except he gave it away. Well, he's not rich and Bill Gates is one of the richest guys on the planet. So I don't know who was right there actually, but But the fact is, they realize in Linux now, the only way people are gonna use this is if it's pretty user friendly. You know, I want to load it on my computer, it comes up, everything's there, email, browser, everything's working perfect, and they've gotten there. It's that good. I think Mark would agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of good distributions. I use Zorin, which is one that I mentioned there. I'm using it because it's so simple. You load it, it works. These guys test it. They're not out on the front edge of technology going, hey, we're gonna try this and we'll let our customers figure out if it works or not. So when they release it, it works and it's reliable. You load it, you're done. So next. So why would you stay with Microsoft, you know, if this system's free? Well, first off, Microsoft, as I say, they've got arrangements with all these OEMs. Most people buy a computer, it's gonna have Microsoft on it. Now, companies are coming around now. I can order a Dell with Linux on it. They realize people want them. HP will build it, custom, that's a Velocity micro computer. It's a gaming type computer, and they'll load any language I want. So people are realizing, hey, people are, like you said, people are starting to resist 11 because it's getting so intrusive. It's like, I want to buy a new computer from you, but I don't want you sticking 11 on it just because it will run. So, you know, that's one reason though people do stay. It's like, hey, I've been running this since XP or whatever. They're comfortable with it. And again, as Mark said, Microsoft evolves slowly. You know, you're still going to have your little block down there and you hit it and you go, oh, that looks a little bit like 10, but it's changed a little bit, but there's no drastic learning curve. So again, going back to a lot of the new distributions of Linux, we can make it look exactly like Windows 10. I don't prefer that because I don't think Windows 10 is that great, but when you can use the same icons, you can use the same layout. It actually comes with the layouts to make it look exactly like Windows. So, you know, you're not really gaining anything, but you've got Linux underneath. Here's the other why you stay with Microsoft. You berated them, but Geek Squad, you know, you can go down to the store and say, I got a problem, and there's somebody there who's going to charge you $150 and tell you what your problem is. There's worse things that can happen. You know, sometimes you're ready to pay your money and get your problem fixed, you know. Next. So we talked a little bit, what is a distribution? I'm gonna waste a lot of time. The distribution is basically the individual package, which includes the kernel for processing. That is usually a Unix-like operating system. You've got the interface that's talking to the terminal, that's giving it commands. Then you've got the graphical interface, which is basically what Windows, that's what changed Windows to the world dominating software. They invented, or he adapted a graphical user interface to an operating system. That's the key to Windows. And that was the game changer. It comes also with an installer, service packages, just the same things you're getting with Windows. That is what makes up a distribution. And they call them distros. I just explained that so you know what that term means as we're talking about it. Next. These are some of the popular, widely used distros. Fedora is the one I mentioned with Red Hat. They're really focused on the government. They provide the support. As a matter of fact, the Justice Department just switched, like 30,000 users are now using Windows. So they're switching totally over. All their court reporting records, everything will be running Linux servers. And it gets these names, I only have them up there because you might run across them if you ever get kind of into this, which I hope so. But Ment's a big one. Ubuntu is one of the earliest ones, and a lot of these are actually based on Ubuntu. Zorin is a biggie I use. Peppermint, Arch. Again, there's 600 distributions out there, so the list kind of goes on forever. Next. So why install? Damn, I made that small. Okay, why install Linux on a PC or Mac? We already talked about it. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but you know, it'll install And, you know, how many people have just bought a computer in the last year? Okay, how many people say their computer is 5 years old or younger? Okay, that's starting to get a little older. How many people say 8 years old? Yeah, see, I mean, and the thing is, if it's working, you don't want to throw the thing away. You know, that's what these guys are saying. Oh, you know, that's old, throw it away. It's like, no, why don't you put a leaner operating system on it and keep using it? We talk about being a green economy, but I mean, it still blows my mind that Microsoft said, no, get rid of all these computers, buy new computers and put 11 on them. I mean, that is the least green thing I could ever imagine, because you're gonna throw all these things in a dump. And, you know, you're talking lithium and copper and all these things that make up laptops, you know. So you can extend the life is one of the bigger reasons you stick with it. There's no spyware, there's no monitoring of keystrokes, there's no software subscriptions, there's no nothing. It's your software. And you configure it the way you want, you use it the way you want. I'm just looking at some, yeah. Mark mentioned it, and this goes for Linux and Apple actually, but there's a lot of packages, you know, again, Windows wants to sell you Windows Office. And they used to sell you Office 2017, whatever. You kept it, you had your disk or you had whatever. Now it's a subscription system. So every year they want you to sign up, you're gonna pay a yearly renewal. And now you've got a little bit of cloud storage and you've got Office, etc. You can download free software that will do everything Microsoft Office will do. And as a matter of fact, they're better because they're a little less of this. You wanna share this with teams, you wanna do, I mean, they got so much stuff. You know, you might be just sitting there going, no, I just wanna write a letter to my grandkid. You know, I mean, it gets almost so complicated, you forget what it was you were doing, you know. So these go back to a little bit, some of them are more like maybe Office 17 or something that had less of all this, the modern stuff. Also, expanding on software, there is browsers. There's tons of free software that when you load the package on there, they've got a software store you can go in. They've got CAD systems, not that probably too many people in here are going to use CAD, but you know, your browsers. He mentioned Brave. That's a very popular browser. Tor, if you want to go on the dark web. You know, there's probably 100 browsers out there, and they're all doing the same thing. They're allowing you to go to internet sites. Again, software for photo management, writing, desktop publishing, video editing. I mean, and it's all free. So it's a pretty nice deal. And you know, the only negative is there's so many. It helps if you have somebody who can say, that's a good one, that's not a good one, because you can load some software and go, that's garbage. Now I've wasted a week playing with it, it's garbage, you know. But there's a lot of good software out there. A lot of it is basically they've cracked the code on existing Microsoft stuff and it's there in the same form, except it's not Microsoft or Google or whatever. Yeah, these last two are kind of minor points, but Linux can also be run virtually on a Windows PC, which Mark is doing to play with. You can set up Oracle VM, which is a way to run virtual computers within another computer. You can also run, alternatively, which I'm doing, you can run a Windows PC on Linux. If, say you had a piece of software that, oh, I have to use this. I would like to switch to Linux, but this one thing I have to do. You can have a Windows PC over here, run that one piece of software, and when you're done with it, close it down so nobody can hack your computer because that Windows PC is dead until you fire it back up. You can also run both of them side by side. You can, what they call dual boot. So you can run Linux on one side, Windows on the other. I really don't like that because the computer processors, you know, they're trying to share these resources. And I think it really degrades the performance of the computer, but it's an option if you want to play with it and say, well, you know, I boot up for my job and I wanna, does anybody here have jobs? Anyway, you know, you might boot up for something for Windows, you can shut it down, hit the switch and say, oh, now I want to boot up in Linux, and you can run Linux, just to play with them side by side. Again, that's not one of my favorite options because it tends to, I've seen some problems doing that. Next. Yeah. We barely need to get into this. Mark said they're not ready to help, but you know, I think it's easy enough now to change over that we could actually, and well, let me rephrase that. We have helped people change over. Slightly unauthorized. I've worked with people in the club who said, you know, this isn't working well. I said, if you want to try Zorin, we'll do it and I'll support you. A little bit non-authorized by the club, but you know, a lot of people, if you're willing to do it and say, hey, I want to test that, then we can do that. Can we do that? I don't want,
I think we could.
I don't want to say that I can do it whether they let me or not. No, but what it comes down to, and this is a lot like Windows, so it's not really anything too new. You go on the internet, you download the ISO, and again, this may be getting too complex, but basically you download the version of the software, you create a bootable disk on a USB drive, you create a bootable disk, you go to the boot menu, plug it in, and it will load it on the computer, and it'll say, you want to get rid of Windows? If you say yes, it says, I'm going to reformat the whole hard drive. You go back a step, you want to save your data before you do that. You know, and you can copy all your data to a disk or a stick or whatever. Then you can go in, you load the operating system, and it's all just like Windows. It's basically a step-by-step process, and it asks you, hey, all these things, but a lot less aggressive than Windows. It's just saying, I need this to set it up right for you. And then basically, oh yeah, you can run it from the stick. If you say, I don't want to load it, but I just want to play with it a little bit, you can plug that bootable disk into a USB port, and you can run the program over on the side and play with it, and then you go, okay, that's cool. Pull it out, reboot your computer, it comes back up Windows. So again, those are getting down into, you got to have a little bit of computer knowledge to do that, but it's very simple to run it parallel, because you might be saying, I want to see what it looks like before I convert my computer over, you know. Yeah, okay, we talked about the virtual thing, so. Again, my recommendation is really, if you say, hey, I'm having problems, or I can't, this really comes to play when you hit the wall of, I can't upgrade. They're telling me to throw my computer away. Well, rather than throw it away, let's put something on it and see if you like it. Then you can throw it away. You know, I mean, but the fact is, you know, at that point, you got no other option. You know, you're kind of going, either I run it unauthorized, I pay them 400 and something bucks, or I change operating system. And, you know, so, and I'm not saying which is the best option. I'm just saying at that point, you kind of have to make a decision, because you gotta make a decision. Okay, do we even, you know, you want to do that?
Yeah, let's bring it up on yours.
Yeah, I've got my computer, so I can show you kind of what it looks like. But we have to unplug this.
Plug this guy. Alan, can you pull that camera back? Or is that one?
Yeah, hang on. Okay, if it's not working, I'm gonna be embarrassed. Okay, pull it back. Which way?
Back that to your left.
To them?
Yeah, towards that side.
Like
Just
that?
I wanted to be able to get the screen.
Oh, sorry. You want aimed at the screen?
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
good.
So got it?
That's pretty
Cool.
good.
Okay. So this is just to help kind of give you a little feel, and you know, it could go on forever, but this is basically Zorin. And as you can see, more or less, I mean, this is my desktop photo, but you can pretty much put any picture you want, but it looks a lot like Windows. There's your little block. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Why did you choose Zorin and how would we know which one to put on?
Okay, that's a good question. Because I've played with a lot of them. As a matter of fact, sorry, I'm showing you something here. Yeah. This is what we were talking about, Oracle VM, where you can run virtual machines. So I've downloaded 10 or 20 of these distributions and I run them on this computer and look at them, set them up, play with them. And then when I don't like them, I delete them. I'm not saying Zorin's the greatest. Probably people would probably say Ubuntu is one and Linux and Mint are two of the more reliable, popular. But the reason, to answer your question, the reason I like it is because it works. These guys, it's two Irish guys. They developed the system and they basically use their father to test it on. And they said, if dad can't do it, we don't do it. And so everything they've installed on their software package, they test, and they only offer a new version. This is 17 that I'm running. They only offer that change maybe every year. And then they do updates in the middle of that, but they keep it very stable so that their key focus is, hey, once you load it, it's reliable. Because like I say, there's not that much that people do on computers, but you want it to work all the time. And, you know, I'm just going through random stuff here. This is one of the points. You have to enter in a password at a number of levels because Linux is very compartmentalized, which keeps people from breaking into it. That's why the government and all these people are using it. You virtually can't break into Linux. The other thing is they only have about 4% of the world's market. So Microsoft has what, 70, 80%. So if I'm a hacker, I'm not worried about Linux, you know. I'm worried about breaking into all the Microsoft computers that I can break into. So you see this, I'm running Google. It looks exactly like it would on Microsoft. You see the speed there. It's all the programs that are loaded on the computer. You can pop them up and easily look at them. So the learning curve is not difficult if you're comfortable with Windows and you can configure it. You've got you can't hardly see that, but that's your email. And it can use many email browsers, just like we're talking about browsers. Email clients. You can set it up. I like Blue Mail. This one looks a lot like Outlook, and it's just very simple and clean. You know, you can also a lot of people use Google Mail nowadays. So if you want, you can just go on the Chrome browser and just go directly to your mail account. But we were talking about the virtual machines. Basically, this is Oracle VM VirtualBox. You can run any kind of computer you want. I've got 3 sitting here running, so I happen to be running the Windows. So if you said, hey, I need to run Windows, there's a full Windows computer right there running within Linux. And that is a licensed version of Windows. So you got exactly the same system. If you said, hey, this software only runs on Windows and somebody says I need to run it or I want to run it for some particular reason, you can run it within Linux. And then when you're done, you say, okay, I'm going to close it. It says you want to save it in that state or shut. I'm just going to fire it off. That computer just becomes one file. It's dead. So no hackers can come in through Windows. I could run 10 on this, take my chances that while I'm running it, nobody's going to come in. But the fact is, once I close it, it doesn't exist anymore. By the way, that's how a lot of hackers operate. I can be on this computer, hack into somebody's computer, come back, shut this one down. There is no source from whence I came. That's why it's hard to catch these people, because they shut down the computer they're using and there's no way to track them. Besides the fact that they're also mostly, that's a whole different topic, but most of the scammers operate outside of the US. And so it's very hard. They might get, oh, I got some money from this old lady in Florida and I transferred it to Vegas and he transferred it to Mexico and he transferred it to India. And the US authorities go, if it was in our county, I could do something, but as it is, I have no way to get your money back. So be very careful, because if you lose your money, you're not getting it back. But that is how they operate. It's such a shell game that closed down these virtual PCs. It doesn't even exist anymore. So what are you tracking, you know? So again, I'm not going to belabor this, but you do have, oh, sorry, this is the wrong thing. You've got updates and it updates automatically. It goes out. Now it's not going to do it because I'm not on this internet, but it would go out, check out, find out any updates. It says, hey, I failed to download it because it's not on the internet, and it would install them automatically. And it's not going to change anything. It doesn't change anything. There is nothing that it's gathering data on your PC from. So you have to go into the settings and change it and say, hey, I want it to, kind of like Windows used to be in about 1990,
Right.
you know, where
We're-
they actually let you configure it, you know. But yeah, I think the biggest point is Microsoft is, you know, Mark said he's been using it for a long time. I've been playing with computers since 1975, way before Microsoft, way before this. This guy wrote this in 91. You used to use Linux, Unix, DOS operating system, and you did have to be a nerd. You typed commands, you punched cards, you know, so we're up to this point, and I've watched Windows, and I remember telling my dad he should have bought Windows that was $2 and something a share. And I said, Dad, I don't know what this is going to do, but I said, this is going to change things. And I was in engineering school at the time. Unfortunately, he didn't buy any, but you know, it is evolved. And I agree. I'm a fan of Windows in one sense. They've done a great thing to make computers available to people because they've made them easy. But the fact is now they've realized, hey, how do we make money? We got to get these people's information. We got to compile trends. We got to sell it to people. We got to market. You know, if they say, hey, there's a bunch of retirees in Florida, and Microsoft can go, hey, I got a database of 2 million of them. You want to pay me $1 a contact? I mean, there's so many things they can use that data for. It's too overwhelmingly tempting for them to do it. So the biggest point is Linux is protected from all that. You don't expose your data to any of this. And I think that's the end of the presentation. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But you know, that's pretty much what it is at this point. And it's an option when you get to a point where you decide, hey, am I going to get rid of my computer? Am I going to upgrade, or where you're at? It's an option that's out there. Well, you know what? That is a good point, because I use, well, let's just go to some files here. Say you, here's the Linux presentation. Well, I'm going to say, here's a password list. Shouldn't do that. You can't read it quick enough to remember.
Is this Excel?
That is not Excel. That's called Open Office. That's an Excel spreadsheet though, that I took off my old Excel computer, Windows computer. And it can be read. It's XLSX format. So it's still in an Excel format. I can sit here and go, well, I want to save it, but see, all that is so easy now, because all you do is say, I want to save it. If you look down at the bottom, you can't read it, but right there's all the formats. I could save it as a spreadsheet template, as an open document spreadsheet, or as an Excel spreadsheet. So you can save it. Computers are so transparent now that everything can just about be read by everything else, even though they really don't exactly want you to know that. But if you, let's just say, I'm just looking for something that's goals. There you go. Yeah. So again, same program. This is my goals. So, you're basically, you type a letter, just like you would of any word processor, save it, and you can send it as an attachment on an email.
Say, since 2000 process, that's what you call up, so you can start writing.
Open up and after that.
Oh, let's just close that one. I'm just gonna say, I want to open a new document, create new, boom. There's a blank document. Yeah, and see, it looks a lot more like, to me, it looks a lot like the old word processing program. You had Word, Excel, PowerPoint back in the old days. And you see, it's very clean versus, actually, all these sub menus that if you look at the very, very new version of Office, it's complicated, because they're allowing you, I mean, it's good and bad. It's got AI built into it. So they're saying, you want some help writing this letter? They're saying, do you want to share with your team? Well, it's so many things. It's like I say, no, I want to write this letter. So there's a simple, you start typing and there's your letter. Yeah, so that's, it says, yeah, more than one document closed. So I'm going to say not asking, close it.
Yeah, almost every case, as far as, let's say, a Microsoft product, some sort of something that runs under Windows, there's almost in every case a Linux version out there running somewhere that you can download and run it.
Yeah, and here I'll show them one thing. This is the oh, I think keeps down on me. Yeah. No, just think our TV has a timer on it or
It
something.
seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try one thing. I'm gonna unplug this because I did want to show them this. And then we'll wind this up.
All right.
There we go. Yeah, I think it just goes to sleep. Okay, this is your software store. Again, all this is free. When you load the package, it's all on there. Now, let's say we wanted a browser. Oh, shit. I forgot. I'm not on the internet. Okay, so it would basically find all the browsers that you want. But I can show you, this is all these are all the programs that are installed on my computer. Bluemail email, document viewers, calendars, a chess game. Here's another, if you have Gmail, you can use it makes it a little easier, but you can just go to the browser. Like a lot of people just go on Chrome, click on an email and they're there. So that's a nice, clean, simple way to do it. Here's music. There's only Office, but there's probably 5 really good programs that will do everything Windows Office does for free. This is diaries. I wish I could show you because you type in CAD, there's probably 20 CAD packages. Just anything you want. If you're like into photography and you want to edit and lighten and do manipulation of photos, there's software for that, for video manipulation. So it's all out there and it is free. And again, some of them you got to play with because some of them are better than others. But generally speaking, most of them, you can go online and look them up too and say, what's the best word processor for Linux? And there's a ton of data out there that'll let you know that. So, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. So one is that if this Linux has been around for so long, how come it, and I also use Open Office, and I have the option on Open Office to save it in Word format. So,
Sure.
but I don't get this, and I'm a translator, and I use they require me to use, it's called Kratos, but I use the free version, because everything has a free version
Oh, yeah.
nowadays. So how come it's not taking over the world instead of, like, this is free, I think this is excellent, and I never ever paid for Microsoft. I always, since my college years, I use Open Office, and
Yeah.
nobody ever knows that I'm not writing on
Okay,
Microsoft Word.
here's
Because
why.
yeah.
As I say, back when Linus was in school in 91, he's writing this and he says, I'm gonna give this away to the world. Now, he's a poor college student. Okay. Then you got Bill Gates and Paul Allen who decide, I'm gonna put this together and I'm gonna sell this to the world. And they start marketing it. Now, Bill Gates is almost the richest guy on the planet. He didn't get there accidentally. They have marketed Microsoft. And what they did do, I think, is what they did well is made it easy to load on computers. But what they also did well was went to all the OEMs and said, hey, we want to put our operating system on your computer. And so they get paid a little license fee, but they get a lot cheaper version. So Dell, boom, 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 they're putting Windows on every computer. I mean, they're starting to change, but even now, if you buy a computer at Best Buy, it's going to have Windows on it. You know, you can order a Dell computer with Linux on it. But Torvalds decided, hey, I'm going to set it up and it's free to the world. We'll all share it, et cetera, et cetera. It's a better operating system, but he's not marketing the hell out of it, you know, and Gates is worth 100 billion. Torvald, because Red Hat gave him some stock when they first started. He's worth about 50 billion. So he's doing okay, but he's not made a fortune, and he's still working out in California, lives in a very small house, and he's still involved in revising and coordinating the changes that are occurring in Linux right now. So he just wasn't the Bill Gates kind of guy.
And it's still not, right? Still.
Oh yeah, he's still there. Yeah.
And because I'm from Europe, and then just the interesting fact that in Europe, a lot more people have and are familiar with Linux. And
Exactly.
they're asking me the question, how come in America they haven't discovered Linux yet? And why not the population is switching over to Linux?
Well,
And I
first,
think
and also, I think I hate to say, but I think Americans are kind of sheepish. When they're told, hey, this is the best thing and it's marketed to them, they go to the store, oh, this has got Windows 11 on it, you know, and they want the latest and greatest. I think Europe, he was from Finland, but I think there's a little more thoughtfulness and, you know, how can we do this efficiently, et cetera. And, you know, I don't know how it's gotten here, but I will say, in terms of taking over the world, you look at all the smartphones that we were talking about that are all running Linux, all your refrigerant, all these smart appliances, they're all running Linux. So it takes a very lightweight operating system to operate in it. A lot of automotive stuff is running on Linux. I mean, so it's taking over the world. They've got all the supercomputers on the planet, but they don't have all the desktops, you know. So I think there's a distinction as to who's taking over which part of the world, you know.
And then it's I mean, the only downside that you mentioned is that the lack of or not as much support. I mean,
Yes.
but Microsoft support
Oh.
Microsoft support sucks. I mean,
It does.
terrible.
Hey, I tried. I'll give you a good example. I'm running a virtual PC. So I said, oh, I'm going to buy a license. So I bought Pro, you know, and set it up as a virtual PC. Then I played with it and I like to break stuff. So I said, okay, that's okay. I'll just reload it. I killed it, deleted it, set up another PC. I go to enter in the 38 code license number. Oh, that's no good. I said, yeah, this is the same one I just had on here. Oh yeah, but you can't reuse it on there. you try to call Microsoft and talk to anyone about how do I transfer this license to another PC now that and that happens with, you know, if you change out your hard drive, if you do anything that wipes out that operating system, I think their whole theory is it's easier to go buy another copy than to try to transfer the license.
So in my book, there is no that.
Yeah,
that side.
And
I mean, I
there is
love it.
there's a lot of support. You can go to blog. It depends on how comfortable people are. I mean, you know, I got to use my mom as an example. You know, she has a hard time if the cursor's not there and her browser's not there. End of topic. You know, you can say, well, Mom, just go online and look up the Zorin blog, and they've got a lot of data on how to set up your, you know, well, that's not going to work. So I think that's the problem is Linux does require you to be a little bit more computer savvy in terms of going out and looking for that data. And I think that's why Mark, and hey, I don't disagree with him. I'm cutting up a little bit. We're on the same page. But I know it's a big decision for the club to say we want to start loading Zorin or any Linux, because I think I'm probably the only one that's really comfortable with it right now. And Mark's playing with it as much as anybody. But the fact is, we don't, you know, we can't say, hey, bring your laptop in and we'll take a look at it and fix it for you. We don't have the people that are there to support it, even in the computer club. So that's why I think they're moving slow to do that. And I think they'll get there because I think it will. And I think Microsoft may be forcing that issue when they tell everybody, hey, you can't upgrade your computer. You got to go buy a new one, because that's BS. You know, it really is.
Okay.
And my last, just a very short question.
Sure.
On your computer, do you have the dual boot or just the virtual?
Just virtual. No, I don't like dual boot. And again, it's a good computer. It's super fast, but I found that when you dual boot, it's almost like they're both going for the RAM. They're both going for stuff. And it almost tends to like lock up weirdly or do some strange things. So I feel like best thing is just go, hey, wipe the whole hard drive. They use a different format for the hard drive. And then you put the new system on. It's clean, it's fast, and it's much nicer. And I'm not worried about, I've had people give me computers because they know I play with them and go, just make sure my data's gone. And I said, when I plug in that USB and have it format the hard drive, trust me, it's gone. It's not even in the same format as a Windows disk anymore. So it cleans it up totally. So you're safe about old data. And I know they wipe them. If you donate a computer to the computer club, they wipe the disk to make sure that's a safe way to dispose of it as well.
Yeah, we're running out of time here, so we
Okay,
gotta kind
go
of
ahead.
wrap it up for the day.
What are groups like schools and so forth?